Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me. I'm Jeannie Walters, and every week we try to bring you some value, something around customer experience to learn from and to apply to your organizations to improve the customer experience for your customers and get meaningful results for you. We do this every single week, so join us either by subscribing on YouTube or we do a lot of these live on LinkedIn Live and YouTube simultaneously week after week, where we invite your questions as well. So be sure to check that out and join us if you can. Now, today I want to talk to you about predicting what's next for your customers. This is something that is challenging. This is something that is hard to do because we don't necessarily know what the future holds. But when we look at what has happened through the pandemic and through some other events, we can use that lens to hopefully understand our customers, their expectations, and their needs moving forward. So, for those of you who don't know me, first of all, I'm Jeannie Walters. I have been uh, providing customer experience guidance to different organizations for about 20 years. I do that through keynote speaking and through workshops, training, consulting, and coaching of executives. My team and I are always on the lookout for what's next and for how to provide that prediction for our clients, but also because we know that customer expectations are changing every single day in ways that we've never seen before. So we invite you to reach out to us. We have many resources on our site at experienceinvestigators.com. I also invite you to join us at yearofcx.com. That's a program, it's totally free, where we provide tools, downloadable resources, things like that, that you can use to improve your customer experience because we believe in our mission of creating fewer ruined days for customers. And by providing those tools to you, we hope that you do that for your customers too. So let's talk about what we've learned in this time of the pandemic and of shutdowns and of the unexpected crisis that COVID-19 led. What happened was customers tried new things. What happened in America specifically was 20% of Americans spent more time researching products, trying to understand what they were going to buy before they buy it. So, what does that tell us? Well, that tells us that we need to adjust and make sure that we're educating our customers along the journey before they actually buy. It's telling us that they wanted that reassurance, they wanted that trust as they got into the relationship, as they entered the customer journey. So, just by knowing some of the behavior that happened, we can now apply that to what we will do for the future. 3 out of 4 American consumers have tried new shopping methods during this time as well. And many will continue that behavior after we get through this time. So, what that tells us is that many shoppers actually decided that, you know what, maybe digital ordering was something they were willing to try. Maybe they would download that mobile app to see if they could figure that out and get what they needed, even if the store was not open. So, looking at those different behaviors and considering what will continue. Well, some of that is based on convenience. Some of that is based on the fact that customers discovered things that they liked about those different shopping methods. Now, they might not actually do that every single time they shop, but they might see it as an option where before they didn't. So, as we rebuild, as we reopen, as we plan for the future, we really want to look at how can we provide those choices for customers? And what does that mean for us? It means we have to look at how do we staff? How do we provide the resources? How do we give direction to customers who may or may not be familiar with these choices? But we know that these new shopping behaviors, they're here to stay. And then finally, online purchases grew by 20 to 40%. Now, we can understand why this happened because there may not have been many choices. But the part that I want to emphasize here is that this grew in most categories. And what that tells us is that instead of things that maybe people thought they couldn't purchase online before, like furniture, like cars, things like that, they had an opportunity to actually explore in bigger ways. So, for instance, you can use augmented reality to see how that chair would look in your living room instead of measuring and going to the store and trying to just decide. You can actually use your mobile device, which we all carry around all the time, and using augmented reality, actually look at what would that mean for my living room and for my choice. So looking at those types of new online purchasing behaviors, that can also provide us a little direction about where customers are going and the needs and wants they have. One of the things that I find really fascinating about what's happened is that as people stayed home more, they discovered that they actually wanted more time to themselves. And this was a global trend. People are reporting that this is becoming a bigger priority than they've ever had before. So, what does this mean for customer experience leaders? Well, this means that we have to consider our customers' real lives and their real priorities. We should always be doing that, but knowing that this is a priority for them means what can we do to reduce effort, to remove those obstacles so that they don't have to spend as much time getting something done with our brand. We can give them some of that time back and they will appreciate that because this is a priority for them. So, as you look at your own customer journey, as you plan and design the customer experience, I encourage you to think about this. What is your customer's real life like? Because if we only plan journeys around getting from our customer from the point of brand awareness to the point of sale, we are ignoring a lot of their real lives. What are they buying for? What are they going to use that product and service for? How can we make the experience more effortless and meaningful to that customer so they gain some of that time back? This is going to be a top priority for a while. So make sure that as you plan for the future, you're considering all of these changes in behavior as you move forward. Now, how can you plan for the future? There are three things I want you to consider. One is you have to know your customer and understand their journey. And when we talk about knowing our customers, sometimes I hear things like, oh, we understand our customers. They're this. And I hear about a segment. Or maybe in a B2B role, I hear about a title. Oh, we appeal to chief marketing officers. That's our customer. Well, that's a role, but that's not really the individual customer. We really want to get to know who are they? What are their needs? What is driving them? If they are going to see a concert or go to live theater, that evokes a feeling. That's what they're aiming for, is that feeling. If they're going to pay a parking ticket, that's something to be done that they want to be done quickly and efficiently and move on. So really understanding who they are and what motivates them can help us really plan better customer experiences for the future. The other thing you've heard me say before, do not neglect those small moments. If you've heard me speak at all, I say the word micro moments a lot because I'm a big believer in this. When we are building customer journeys, we often will neglect small moments thinking they don't matter, thinking that if it's the way everybody does it, then that's okay. But if we can provide a little more positivity in those small moments, if we can really acknowledge the customer, recognize where they are on their journey, and turn up the volume on those positive moments, even the ones that feel like they're nothing, a sign or an invoice or an error message. Those things matter. We have to make sure that we are not neglecting those small moments when we're designing the overall journey, especially as we move to the future. Those small moments are going to be more and more meaningful in the digital channels and in things like self-service, because that's being demanded right now. So look at where your customers are interacting with your brand and identify where are those small moments that you can make more positive, meaningful, and memorable. And then we want to predict those pain points. Of course we do, right? This is what customer experience is all about. But we want to proactively design the experience to avoid those pain points to begin with. So this means looking ahead at things like convenience. We know that customers value their time. They do not want us to waste their time. So let's look at the actual journey and figure out where is that happening and what can we do to prevent it. Another lesson that we've learned, actually, this was from 2013. So in 2013, patients of healthcare were saying, I am okay with video visits. In fact, I would be totally okay getting a prescription from my doctor via video because it would save me time and effort. Well, that we knew that in 2013, but we look at what happened in 2020 and how many healthcare providers did not heed that warning and suddenly had to figure out, how do I serve my patients when everything is shut down? By looking at those pain points, they could have been prepared for this. This is what we need to do when we are thinking about forward thinking customer experience. We need to identify what are those pain points that are happening across industries, sometimes across, different industries, but customers are still telling us, I don't like this. This is too much effort. We need to plan accordingly and proactively to avoid those completely. So, a great thing to consider in this moment right now is remapping. Look at the customer journey map that maybe you have. And if you don't have a customer journey map right now, if you've never gone through customer journey mapping, that's okay. You can start there too. And we have some resources for you both on our site. We have customer journey workbooks. We also have a couple courses on this on LinkedIn Learning that you can find on LinkedIn Learning as well. So I encourage you, if you are not quite up to customer journey mapping yet, those resources could help you get started and get what you need to move forward. But if you do have journey maps, one of the things I hear from leaders all the time is, you know what, we did a journey map a few years ago, but it doesn't seem to be serving us now. Well, of course it's not. It's not supposed to be an artifact. It's supposed to be a tool. And so make sure that as you are moving forward and understanding the trends and looking at your new customer behaviors, that you are mapping according to that. So if you have people who are both ordering online and coming to your store, how can you serve both of those journeys in a way that makes sense? How can you make sure people can come in and out of those preferences in a way that makes sense to them? That's what customer journey mapping can really help you identify. And this is also where you want to really understand your customer's purpose. What are they really after? How can you support that? How can you make sure that you are providing the resources that they need in the moment that they need them in order to get them through to that purpose? And then a few cautions for you here. One is avoid org chart journey maps. This is where we identify basically the department taking care of the customer as the phase of the journey. We say things like, well, marketing is here and sales is here, and then they go to customer success. Well, the customer doesn't see it that way. So make sure when you are developing your journey maps, you are putting yourself into the customer viewpoint. You're leveraging the data that you have. You are asking for feedback, and you are really making sure that you're using the voice of the customer. You're identifying their feelings and thoughts as you go through that journey. And then you also want to avoid process mapping here. I see this a lot too, where the customer doesn't really care about the processes to deliver on the customer journey map. So always start with their perspective and then build the processes after that. There's a technique called service blueprinting that can be very effective here. But essentially, what you want to do is make sure you're identifying what's the experience for the customer first, and then building processes instead of the other way around. Because if you're developing a process map, you're not really thinking about the customer. The other thing I'm very excited about with the future is that we have some amazing technology and tools available now. And artificial intelligence and machine learning actually allow us to do things at scale in ways that we couldn't otherwise. I talk to a lot of leaders who have so much data and they don't know what to do with it. What AI can allow us to do is get to the point where we start understanding things like, okay, this group of customers didn't renew. Well, if we backtrack, we can see they called customer service 6 months before their renewal. They ran into issues with invoicing. They reported a lower NPS score. And we can start doing things like that at scale and identifying where those pain points are. So then we can backtrack and proactively design and avoid those pain points to begin with. AI is amazing. If you have not invested in it, I highly recommend you do. According to IDC, by 2025, enterprise level organizations that have invested in AI that are AI driven, they will get NPS scores that are 1.5 times higher than their competitors. So if you're at that enterprise level and you haven't yet invested in AI or explored it, I encourage you to do so, because that will help you predict your customers' future behavior and be able to avoid those pain points instead of waiting and reacting to those things when they go wrong. And so when we predict pain points, I want you to consider that there are some behavioral changes in general. And often when I talk to clients on work with different organizations, it's so easy to put the blinders on and just focus on our little piece of the world. But of course, humans have these full lives. They are behaving in different ways. And so instead of just looking at your industry or just looking at your customers, it's really important to look at these macro trends. What is happening? And one of the big ones, of course, is digital. We are seeing so much digital adoption in and comfort levels with customers. In many, many restaurants now, you can go in with your mobile phone and scan a QR code to get the menu instead of handling a paper menu. You can do so many things. So make sure that you're looking at how can we provide that level of convenience for our customers. Another interesting thing here in the United States and in many places around the world is that people were moving from the cities to the suburbs to more land, more fresh air, all of those things. Well, why am I bringing that up? It's because it could affect your locations. It could affect your supply chain. It could affect your delivery times. So really make sure that you're looking at how do these macro trends actually apply to our customer experience and our customer journey? What are the things that we have to improve in order to live up to these expectations that we've already set? And like I mentioned before, self service and teach me options are very, very big. They are going to get bigger. Millennials have started this. Generation Z is all about this. They want self service options. So, really take a look at your knowledge base, at your community forums, at the different ways that people can access those things. Chatbots can be very successful here, but make sure they actually work in a way that respects where the customer is on their journey and who they are. So, as you look ahead, as you plan your customer journey, consider these trends and then look around for the ones that maybe affect your industry specifically or your customers or your geography specifically as well. So, when we are talking about using the clues to predict here, we want to know our customer. That's super important, as always. We want to respect their journey, leverage technology and tools. We have some amazing things out there. Make sure you are leveraging what you have so that you can really dig into the data that you have available to you. Map out those micro moments. I love this so much. I think everybody should do this because there are opportunities there. There are opportunities to really delight your customers, as well as look for those moments of neglect that are just happening that you don't even know that are causing those pain points. By just not neglecting a customer, you can avoid a pain point. And then we want to predict those pain points. Look for parts along the customer journey where we can actually say, you know what? We know that this behavior is changing and we are not supporting that here. So, how can we do a better job for our customers? And then finally, you need to act on all of this, probably the hardest part, but we need to act on all of this and then continue to evaluate, get that customer feedback, find out what's working, look at that behavioral side of things and see how they're responding to the changes that you're making. So I wish you a lot of luck with this. I think it's such an exciting time. Things are changing at such a rapid pace, and yet we have the power to really look at who our customers are and how we can serve them better. And that, my friends, is why we're in this. The mission of my company is to create fewer ruined days for customers. And by you being here with me and learning week after week, that is helping us live our mission. So if you have not reached out to us, we always love hearing from you. If there's a topic you want us to cover, go ahead and drop that in the comments. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please go ahead and subscribe to this YouTube channel because we have all sorts of resources for you and different playlists that can help you deliver a better customer experience. I'm Jeannie Walters. See you next week. Thank you.